Okay, I'm Suzanne Gose. I am an actual homeschool genius. So you're in the right spot for me to help you start homeschooling in 3 easy-ish steps. I'm not going to pretend like it's easy, but those 3 steps are decide your teaching type, your teaching time, and your accountability method. I know you're thinking, wait a second, Suzanne. I just decided to homeschool, and you're telling me I'm a teacher and I have to decide a type? I know, but let me just kind of go through some of these options. You can do a screenshot and see and just look those up. The first one is eclectic. That's most of us. Most of us pick and choose the different types, when we're going to do things, how we're going to do things. We're going to change time, we're going to change locations, we're going to change parts of the year, things like that. So eclectic is kind of a mix of all these. Most homeschoolers are that way. Traditional, that means you like the way the public schools are doing it, and you want to recreate that at home. And so you like the idea of having spelling first, you like the idea of having a schoolroom or a desk or something like that, all the textbooks, you really enjoyed the workbooks and all the things like that. You want to do that. That's great. Look it up for what ages that you're teaching. Unit studies. Unit studies is where you choose one particular theme and then you learn everything about that theme within a certain amount of time. So we used KONOS, K-O-N-O-S. It stands for cone in Greek. And we did character studies, so character traits. So our first character trait was obedience. Within that unit of obedience, we had horse lessons, a horse unit. And so we did the history of horse, anatomy of a horse. We actually did horseback riding lessons. We read Black Beauty. Everything was about horses with the idea of the horse had to obey. And so the children learned a lot about obedience, and it was very great. I loved unit studies. The next one was attentiveness. Then we did stewardship. It was wonderful. And so every unit lasted sometimes an entire semester, other times just 6 weeks. And so that was how I did all of my children's literature, science, history. And then we had to add in phonics and math on our own, which I used Math UC for all 5 of my children. It's been great. Okay, in a box. In a box means same idea as traditional, but you actually choose the brand or you choose the company like Sunlight or Abeka. There's 2 different K-12s. There's a public school K-12 and then a regular K-12. There's all kinds that where you're saying, I want 4th grade. Bookshark is another one that's come out kind of semi-recently. And so they send you this big box and it has all of 4th grade in it. Spelling, science, math, history, everything's in there. And so same idea as traditional, but you don't even have to go and pick and choose your subjects. It's all there. Unschooler. An unschooler is somebody that really believes that the child is already a natural learner. And if they haven't been in public school yet or haven't been in public school for too long, then a lot of times they are. Sometimes public school kind of chips that curiosity off, and it's kind of trained them to think that learning is a job rather than a natural part of life. But if you have somebody, even yourself, you understand that learning is a natural part of life, you can gear all of life that's learning. As long as they're reading, they're inquisitive, they're going to learn. And so there's interns, there's field trips, there's all kinds of ways to learn. It doesn't have to be on a checklist. Charlotte Mason, she had the idea of morning time, short 20-minute lessons. Everything was actually living books. She didn't like textbooks. The idea is there's a gentle feast of information out there that your child will just relish. And so your job is just to help guide them and kind of get out of the way. The only education is self-education. These are all Charlotte Mason quotes. So that methodology kind of gives us a structure of how to formulate our school day, but we're still choosing living books for history, science, for grammar and summarizing and literature and writing. They're just narrating back to us, and then they turn it into where they narrate onto paper. It's an amazing way. In fact, all of my Spanish curriculum is based on the Charlotte Mason method. I didn't know that when I designed it. I didn't know who Charlotte Mason was, but it turns out she and I agree on a lot of educational stuff. A Gentle Feast is actually the name of a Charlotte Mason curriculum that you can buy, and then you go and get all the books, and it's lovely. All right, and the last one is classical. So classical has the idea of Latin in it, has the idea of the way the Patriots learned, has a lot of recitation, memorization, and it's not rigid, I won't say. It just has a very specific list of things that it would expect you to cover throughout your day. So whichever one sounds like, oh, that's me, then research that. And then you can type in traditional curriculum for 5th grade homeschool. boom, there's going to be a ton of stuff. So once you kind of decide what method is your best, then you can go and choose your curricula. Like I said, I'm eclectic, kind of Charlotte Mason with a twist. So we use living books for literature, history, science, but sometimes I use Apologia for science. Sometimes I use Novare for science. It depends on what I want to do during that season. I change it up. I don't feel stuck. I always change. For math, we use Matthew C. I think I said that already. And then we do grammar every morning. So that's part of it. And then, of course, Spanish Genius is the Charlotte Mason way for my own children, speaking Spanish to them. Okay. When do you want to? Just decide. It's okay if you change your mind. Just decide and then adjust. It's fine. But do you want to start early in the morning? I know 8 a.m. is not that early, but for some of us homeschoolers, that turned into be kind of early. Do you want it to be offset? Do you need it to be offset? Maybe you work during the day, you get home at 5:30, and the kids are ready for you to school them then, or lead them through it, or they have done like their literature and their history on their own, and they just need to check in with you and you just kind of review it. Depends on their age. But you get to decide what time you want to do things. You need to check what learning style, what learning time your child has. And if you're ragged out at the end of the night, then maybe night schooling offset it is not good for you. And then there's throughout the day. So you don't have a start or an end time. You just kind of look at your clock. It's 4 o'clock, y'all. We haven't gotten math done. Let's sit down and do math. Some days are like that for us. Typically, we always start at 9:30 a.m. By that time, all the animals, we live on a little hobby farm, so the animals have been fed, the morning chores have been done. Honestly, a lot of the times, my kids already have their classes done, the most of their subjects done. And then we sit down for grammar, science, and Bible. So, and then they're almost always done by 10:30 or 11, depending on what their Spanish work is doing. So they have a lot of Spanish grammar right now. Okay. Decide your teaching accountability. You do need accountability. Very, very few people are actually going to do a great job without having some sort of accountability. Just, progress. There's always an action plan. There's steps, even from baking a cake to planning Thanksgiving out to getting a college degree. Everything has some sort of plan, and that assures a better quality because you can see those rungs as you go. So have a plan. A man with a plan always beats a man without a plan, right? Every time. So here are some planning tips. You can use a lesson planner. There's thousands of them. Homeschooling ones, traditional ones, all kinds. You can just use a calendar. Like I said, I did science and history on Tuesday and Thursday, and that was that. Or an app. There's checklists. And then what I use is an actual paper checklist. I'll go take a picture of that and add that onto the end here and talk through it. Is that it? That's it. Isn't that great news? So how to start homeschooling in 3 easy-ish steps. Once you decide on your teaching type, your teaching time, and how you're going to keep yourself accountable, the rest of it's gravy. So if you'd like to see how I plan out my school day, my school year for my children, or what I'm actually going to do, I've already changed it 4 times this year. So it's okay to change. That's why we plan in April, because we have plenty of time to change. So you can click on how to plan in my Spanish Geniuses and the extras. I have that over there. If you're not a new homeschooler and you don't need this, great. If you know a new homeschooler and you think this will help them, awesome. Send it along. And I hope this helps you to kind of get that kind of kick in the pants to propel you forward and not be too overwhelmed.